I ate chocolate for breakfast for the past 4 days to see how different levels of cacao and different sweeteners used in dark chocolate would affect my blood sugar. Dark chocolate has health value, but at what level of dark does the value start? And at what point do the added ingredients tip the scale from healthy to unhealthy? That is a big question, and while we might not be able to answer it fully, this video chips away at a big chunk by looking at blood sugar impact. Join me to see what my continuous glucose monitor from Levels showed as the best and worst dark chocolate. Okay, why did I eat the chocolate for breakfast? Because these tests are focused on blood sugar. If I had eaten them after dinner, the foods from my meal would combine with the chocolate, so we wouldn't know if the change in my blood sugar level was due to the food or the chocolate. I ate the chocolates at 7 o'clock in the morning on an empty stomach. I used 200 calorie portions as a standard for comparison. I did not exercise during the 2-hour testing period, but I did drink black coffee because there were only so many sacrifices that I was willing to make. Now, in a previous video, I tested 72% cacao chocolate. That percentage is just high enough to earn a healthy chocolate status. And the results were so-so, which I will recap for you in a moment. For this round of testing, I wanted to see if increasing the cacao amounts made a difference. So I compared my 72% chocolate results to bars with 86% cacao, 92%, and 100%. I also tested dark chocolate sweetened with sugar substitutes. And I will tell you that I wasn't sure if this test would show much. However, the results blew me away. As a sneak peek, here are the blood sugar results side by side from Levels. The app assigns foods an easy-to-understand score, with 10 being the best. I think you'll be very surprised by the order in which these chocolates fell. It is not what I was expecting. To be deemed a good snack for blood sugar control, the chocolate must perform well in 2 ways. First, I want to see a minimal blood sugar spike immediately after eating it. Second, I want a stable or gentle blood sugar rise and fall in the 2-hour period after consumption. The intensity of that first spike shows me how the chocolate is affecting me. The degree of rise and fall over time shows me how my body is handling the snack. Levels made it easy for me to watch these 2 things unfold in real time. This is Levels. They are sponsoring this video. The company makes it possible for people without diabetes to get this preventative tool called a CGM, or continuous glucose monitor. CGMs allow you to closely monitor your blood glucose or blood sugar. While some countries sell them over the counter, in the United States, you can go to your doctor's office and ask for a prescription, or you can join Levels, which offers 2 paths to getting a CGM. You can consent to be part of their research study, which allows you to use a CGM without a prescription. If you choose not to participate in the study, Levels will connect you with an asynchronous physician consultation to see if you qualify for a prescription. Either way, Levels makes it possible for you to get CGMs, but they do not profit from the sale of the CGMs. They sell them at cost to their members. A month's supply of CGMs costs $199. Levels only makes money on the membership fee, which is a one-time fee of $199 a year. And Levels allows you to pick how often you'd like to receive CGMs. You do not need to wear one every month of the year. The frequency of delivery, and therefore your cost, is controlled by you right from your member's portal, and you can cancel whenever you'd like. If you are interested in doing your own blood sugar testing at home, you can click on my link in the video description area, levels.link/Dr. Becky, which gives you an additional 2 free months of the Levels membership. Okay, let's take a look at how the chocolates affected my blood sugar levels. A month ago, I did my first round of snack testing with the Levels app, where I compared the blood sugar response of dark chocolate to popcorn, almonds, and hard-boiled eggs. In that first round, I chose Ghirardelli 72% cacao chocolates. Now, this is not a formal scientific study. I am in my kitchen. However, I did try to remove as many confounding variables as possible. For that reason, I decided to stick with Ghirardelli chocolates for my cacao comparisons. I realize that makes some of you happy and some of you unhappy. You're welcome, and I'm sorry. The biggest drawback with the 72% dark chocolate is that sugar is the second ingredient. After seeing the response caused by eating it, I concluded that even though this snack contains more than 70% cacao, which allows it to fall into the healthy chocolate category, the high sugar content caused an unhealthy blood sugar response. With the Levels app, all you have to do is record or snap a picture of the food you eat. The app then watches your blood sugar level for the next 2 hours and assigns the food a score, with 10 being the best. The 72% dark chocolates earned a level score of 4, elevating my blood sugar by 39 milligrams per deciliter. Now, let's see what happens as we increase the percentage of cacao and move sugar lower on the ingredient list. On packaged foods, ingredients are listed by quantity. So the closer the ingredient is to the beginning of the list, the more the food contains. When we compare the ingredients of the 72% cacao chocolate to that of an 86% variety, we see that cane sugar and cocoa butter switch places. In other words, there is less sugar and more fat in the 86% bar. The 86% bar also has more added milk fat. So how will this impact my blood sugar? Well, remember that dietary fat is a macronutrient that causes little or no rise in blood sugar, and carbs cause the highest rise. Because the 86% dark chocolate contains more fat and less sugar, which is a carbohydrate, I expect less of an initial blood sugar spike and more stability in the 2 hours after eating it compared to the 72% bar. And that is what happened. The 72% cacao chocolate with sugar listed as its second ingredient caused a moderate blood sugar spike, receiving a so-so score of 4 out of 10, whereas the 86% bar with less sugar and more fat caused a nice gentle rise and received a pretty good score of 7. On to the next step up in cacao to see if this trend of higher fat and lower carbs continues to improve my blood sugar response. The ingredients in a 92% cacao dark chocolate bar are almost the same as that of the 86%, with the only difference being that natural flavor and vanilla extract swap places. The term natural flavor is tricky because it doesn't tell you anything other than the fact that flavoring has come from a natural source. That source can be anything from fruit to eggs, and you'll likely never learn the original source because it is often a mixture of flavors. If you read ingredients, you have seen this vague term on many different foods, and the vagueness is allowed because its primary function in the food is flavoring, not nutrition. Does it impact your blood sugar? Well, again, it's vague. However, its impact on health or blood sugar is likely dose dependent, meaning that I wouldn't gobble down a food with natural flavor listed as its first ingredient, but if it's lower on the list, as with these dark chocolates, the amount is small enough that it does not raise my concern. If I see a change in my blood sugar response, it will most likely be due to the fact that the 92% bar has fewer carbs and slightly more fat than the 86%. So at 7 a.m., I ate a 200-calorie portion of 92% cacao chocolate and waited for my Levels app to analyze it for me. It resulted in a stable blood sugar response and received a score of 8 out of 10, which is a good score and slightly better than the 86% that scored a 7 out of 10. I next tested 100% cacao dark chocolate. Every logical fiber in my being told me that this would be the best chocolate for blood sugar. It has one ingredient, unsweetened chocolate. There's no added sugar, there's no additives. To be honest, I included it as more or less of an experimental control. The 2-hour blood sugar response was astonishing. It only scored 5 out of 10, causing a moderate spike that was more similar to the high sugar 72% cacao chocolate than the 92% variety. A few things about this 100% cacao chocolate. First, I found it in the baking aisle because it is baker's chocolate. Before you say, yuck, no one eats that stuff, I have received many comments from viewers that eat it and wanted me to test it. Second, blood sugar response is not the only determining factor for health value. This is the highest level of cacao, meaning it should provide the richest supply of antioxidants and minerals of the chocolates tested. Having said that, to me, it tasted horrible. Getting 3 squares, which is my standard 200 calorie testing portion, down was very hard. 1 square a day likely has health benefits, but personally, I would have to find a way to consume it other than straight off of the bar. Third, you'll notice that the 100% cacao chocolate bar contains more carbohydrate grams than the 86% and 92% varieties. Why? Well, some of it may be a rounding issue, which I will get to in a moment. It may also be due to the fact that this is just chocolate, which started life as a plant, so it is more purely carb with no added fat like the other bars. The fourth thing I need your help on, because I do not have a full explanation. I want to leave the nutrition facts for the 100% cacao chocolate on screen to point out that calories and macros do not match. We see here that I standardized the calories to 200, as I have done for all of our test chocolates. Now, if we look at the macronutrients, fat, carbohydrates, and protein, we have been taught that 1 gram of fat has 9 calories and 1 gram of carbs and protein each has 4 calories. If we punch in the macronutrient grams for the 200 calorie serving and do the math, we get a total of 286.1 calories. So according to the food label, there are 200 calories, but according to the macros, there are 286 calories. That is quite a difference. What is going on? Well, I will tell you that there is often a small discrepancy between calories and macros, but this was a big one. I will quickly walk through what is usually going on, but I am stumped. If you can explain this, please leave a comment for me. First, according to the FDA, nutritional labels can be inaccurate up to 20% when it comes to listing calories. Now, even with that somewhat shocking understanding, we have an 86 calorie difference, which is closer to 40%. The only thing that might close that gap is the fact that the FDA's inaccuracy allowance is based on the actual laboratory analysis of the food, not the 944 calorie counting model I just ran through. In other words, the simplistic 944 model is overly simplified. Calories are not that rigid. For instance, we consider each gram of protein to have 4 calories. However, protein is made up of different amino acids. Those amino acids can vary in their calorie content, with some having around 3 calories per gram and others having around 6 calories per gram. So the food label will tell you the correct grams of protein, but the calories can vary depending on which amino acids are most prevalent. And similar calorie variations are seen with different types of carbs and fat. Also, some adjustments may be made for fiber and sugar alcohols because they are not completely digested. Still, an 86 calorie difference is baffling. Did this play a role in the so-so blood sugar response? Again, I'm not sure. Okay, lastly, I wanted to test dark chocolate sweetened with sugar substitutes. There are many on the market. The reason I chose this Skinny Me bar is because it was in my local grocery store. Ghirardelli did not have a non-sugar sweetened chocolate. This bar has all the right wording on the package. The ingredient list lets us know that the sweetness comes from inulin, erythritol, natural flavors, and stevia. What we don't know is the level of cacao. Just saying bold dark on the package does not mean that it has met that 70% cacao threshold where we start to see the high antioxidant health benefit. A 200 calorie portion has a fair amount of fat with 17.8 grams, which is in the ballpark of the other chocolates. However, this bar contains a lot more carbohydrates and fiber than the others. So, how did a dark chocolate bar sweetened with sugar substitutes impact my blood sugar? it received a level score of 7 out of 10. That is not bad for blood sugar. I cannot tell you from this test if the suppressed blood sugar response was a result of the non-sugar sweeteners or the added fiber. That would be something to explore in a follow-up test. So, is this a good solution for controlling blood sugar and still getting to enjoy chocolate? Well, I would not give this a rave review for health because of one question that remains. Is the cacao amount in this bar high enough to make it a healthy chocolate? We don't know since the label only says bold dark, which kind of leaves us in the dark. Okay, there we have it. From the level score, we see that 92% cacao chocolate provides the best blood sugar stability, followed by the bar sweetened with sugar substitutes, the 86% bar, the 100% cacao bar, and coming in last place is the 72% chocolates. So from our tests, I would declare the 92% cacao the winner because it created a stable blood sugar response, has a good level of cacao and just a touch of sweetness, so it didn't stimulate my appetite. Two parting thoughts. I am not encouraging snacking. If you have a bigger goal than blood sugar stability, such as weight loss, I recommend leaving chocolate at the grocery store for now. Second, I realize I may not have tested your favorite chocolate, and I did not eat them after a meal as most people would. I wish I could show every brand and every scenario for you, but even if I could, my results may differ from those you get. For instance, if I fall on the side of being insulin sensitive, but your body is insulin resistant, how dark chocolate affects me will be different than how it affects you. You have ways to monitor your blood sugar level. You can pick up a blood glucose monitor at your local pharmacy and test your blood with a finger prick. You can ask your doctor to prescribe a CGM, or you can join Levels and get CGMs sent to you with or without a prescription. If you'd like to get Levels for yourself, you can do so completely online. Your first purchase will include a month's supply of CGMs and a 12-month software membership. And again, if you go to levels.link/Dr. Becky, Levels is offering an additional 2 free months of their annual membership. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.